Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. And this morning we have yet another amazing guest. We have a woman who's going to be talking with us about her confidence comeback, how Mitzi went from exhausted to empowered. And I've seen her within our community growing, and it's going to be great to talk with her. Before we get to her, as you all have heard and know, because it's been talked about around the world, literally around the world. I mean, presidents and high powered officials are talking about the brand new AI Online Business Builder Challenge. Okay. Presidents from countries. I heard that President Trump and President Xi from China were on the phone, a very important phone call the other day. The AI Online Business Builder Challenge came up as a topic during their conversation. So this is something that countries are talking about. Of course, people are talking about it within our own community. Internet marketing, legendary marketers just released a new challenge. It's a big deal. So go through it. You can do that at aibusinessbuilderchallenge.com. You can find that, you can take that, you can experience and see what everybody's talking about around the world. Of course, the president's talking about the AI Online Business Builder Challenge is something that is yet to be confirmed yet, but I'm throwing it out there just because I think we're a pretty big deal. With that being said, the other important thing to keep in mind is that we're doing a mastermind in Nashville on September 5th, 6th, and 7th. So hopefully you can meet us there. VIP sold out in 2 days, about 48 hours, and then tickets are a little over halfway sold out. So make sure that you grab one, meet us there if you can. If you can't, but you still know that you should be there, figure out a way to make it happen, because that's what building a business is all about. With that being said, let's get into our guest. Please help me welcome to the Wake Up Legendary virtual stage our guest today, Mitzi Holmes. What's going on, Mitzi?
Hey, Dave.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And
Excited
this
to
is
be
your, it's wonderful to have you. You're a first time guest
here.
on
Yes.
Wake Up Legendary.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, welcome to your first time appearance. As you know, or you probably know, if you don't, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people who have been on the show, 4, 5, 6, 7 times,
Mm-hmm.
because they have continued to build a business and come back and keep us posted. So hopefully that ends up being, what we are able to get from you before you get too big and forget about us. But
No.
let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning and tell us what got you started in this in the first place.
Well, I come from a background of doing a lot of different things. What I studied in college, as opposed to what I ended up doing for most of my career, were polar opposites. I mean, I studied music performance as a classical singer, and then ended up in the medical field, which I've been in for over 30 years. And in 2019, I had gotten married in 2017, and my husband was retired, and he was like, "You can retire." And so I sort of did for about 4 months. And then, what happened in 2020 and all of that. So, and now then prices went up and everybody's dealing with all of that. And so I was looking for something that I could do from home. I didn't really want to go back into the office setting. I was doing, a little bit of side work. But my sister-in-law and I were hanging out in the pool one weekend and happened to just talk about the fact that we'd seen on social media, these gals that were doing this kind of online business, and we're like, okay, well, let's try it. I mean, why not? Well, there's no good reason not to. So we both did, and, went through the ups and downs of becoming a business owner and putting yourself out there, especially when it comes to social media. And, that was something that was really, it was new for me. We've all had social media for a while, but actually putting yourself out there on a consistent basis was way more daunting than I anticipated that it was going to be. And having just gone through, lockdown, and that really, as somebody who's used to performing and being on stage and being around people, you have the entertainment world, and then to just suddenly be just completely locked down and not able to thrive off of those people or have an audience, or not like I don't know. I feel like I'm more of an introvert, but people see me as an extrovert. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it really did a number on my psyche and my mental health as far as how I felt about myself. When you can't do what you're used to doing, you have to come to grips with who you are as a person. So as much as I actually found that I enjoyed being not committed to doing outside social things, I really missed it. And I really didn't, do well with that kind of restraint put on my personality. So some deep soul searching happened, and I did some coaching with a gal, and worked through some things that, wow, I did come from many years of a toxic work environment, not due to the company, but just supervisors, what have you. And just recognizing that, my contribution matters. And even if other people don't see it, I need to see it and recognize it in myself, because not always will you get that external validation. So often you have to figure out what is within you and what you can do to foster self-acceptance and growth, even if somebody's not saying, oh yes, you're wonderful, you're doing a great job, da da da. You just have to find that. And I think it really led to a long journey. And once I found this business through Legendary, it was just like I found my people. Even though we're not together in person so much, just the online community and I've been involved in mentorship, and it really opened my eyes to possibilities and value, and the fact that if I'm suffering with this, I know that there are a lot of people suffering with this. And if I can do something to help people, I don't want to just say believe in yourself, but see the value in your contribution, whatever it is, no matter how small, no matter how big. I think if I can do that, even just for one person, then it will be enough for me. And this whole journey has been not so much about monetary growth. Obviously, I'm still very new, and I know building businesses is not something that happens overnight. And I credit my dad for raising me. He was a lifelong entrepreneur, and was always drilling into our heads, you need to go in business for yourself. You don't need to work for somebody else. And so we lost him unexpectedly in 2013. And I think he would be really proud of, the fact that I do own my own business, and he would not understand it at all. I mean, he had a cell phone, but he never sent a text in his life. I don't think he ever turned on a computer in his life. But he was the rock that started it all. And then I have to just give so much credit to you, Dave, and to the whole Legendary team for putting this education out here for us and for people that are searching, and that it's not a one size fits all kind of a thing. There are so many different ways that you can utilize the talents that you have as an individual, and not just, you're not going to get put into a box. And I've always kind of prided myself on thinking outside the box. But really, I got into a situation where when your confidence takes a hit and you really don't know, how could I possibly help anybody else? You have to work through that. And I think that that's more common than we might like to admit, because I think we've all been there in some form or another.
Yeah. And, you have been impacted by the confidence challenge that we
Absolutely.
released maybe 9 months ago. And
Mhm.
tell us how us introducing that was beneficial for you versus only the marketing and business education courses that we and angles for you to kind of study and even if you wanted to align with us and take our education to your audience,
Mhm.
the confidence challenge may be a better fit for them as well in that respect. But how did that change the game for you?
I think I took that in like November of last year. And I just, as soon as I got into it, I was just like, this this scares me a little, but that means I need to do this, because I needed to work through some of the things that were still kind of in my way. Um, and just going through the confidence challenge was like, I just felt this sense of, this is where I need to be, because building a business and all of that, you can check things off a list. I'm a spreadsheet queen, and I have all the forms and all the lists, and I can go down those. And when you're talking about looking inside of yourself in a way that you're talking about your confidence and how that impacts everything that you do, whether it's not just personal, it affects your business life, it affects your friendships with people, it affects how you relate to the world around you.
Yeah.
um, and it really dialed it in for me that this is where I need to be, and this is what I need to be doing to help other people. So it kind of just dialed it in. I kind of knew, I mean, I've changed my handle so many times and tried to get into the niche that felt right. But I was like, no, you have to create it yourself, and you have to go with what you align with. And when you're struggling to figure out who you are as a person, it's hard to do that. And so I guess that's where the confidence challenge really, really helped me, um, is to just say, okay, you have skills here, and this really aligns with you and feels right. So, and then it was just a few months after that when I started mentorship, and just, I don't know, it lit a fire under me. And I'm so excited to work on my business every day. And it's just been a game changer for me.
And you mentioned when we ask people to come on to the show, invite them, we give them a questionnaire. You had mentioned the phrase, "What other people think of me is none of my business." You said you had heard that somewhere. Bless whoever's heart said that. I mean, um, I definitely have heard that myself. I believe I've said it as well. Either way, um, what does that mean to you, and why is that such a powerful statement or reminder for you?
It really hit me. I grew up, my parents were the heads of a gospel music group. And so I grew up touring around with them, singing, from the time I was 3. And I just people are like, you still get nervous? And I was like, yeah. Coming on this show was one of the scariest things I've ever done, but I've been so excited about it that it really overshadows all of that. But honestly, when you put yourself out there, no matter what you're doing, And you go into it and you're like, oh my goodness, I wonder if people are going to like this. Are people going to boo? Are people going to, I sang the national anthem for a hockey game once, and I was so scared that, hockey fans can, they can be pretty honest, and no
Yes.
boos, but, it was like right before I went out there, they flashed up on the screen. It was a New Year's Eve game, and it's a traditional rivalry that we have around here. And they flashed how many people were in the stadium. And I was like, oh, I could have gone all my life without knowing that. But you know what? If you're going to do something and one person comes up to you, like I did a performance once, and one person came up to me and said, that particular song to me was so meaningful. It reminded me of the time, yada, yada. And it was like, you know what? That's why I did this. I didn't do this for all of the other people, and people there that I had known just didn't say a word to me. And it was like, it wasn't for them. It was for that one person. And that's enough. Sometimes it's not about, that just has to, you have to put that out of your head. And if you do things because of what people will think, that's the wrong reason to do something.
So what other people think is none of my business. What other people think of me is none of my business is the quote that we were just talking about. She said that really stood out to her. And so if you're just tuning in, I want to, Mitzi, for you, but also for obviously everybody, but ultimately for me, and you'll see what I mean for that here in a second, I want to share a really powerful concept that I learned when I was getting clean, and I was learning how to learn who I was and kind of heal myself. Exactly what you were talking about a moment ago as well, where it's difficult to build a business when you, and I can't remember what you said exactly, I'm butchering it, but when you don't know who you are. You said that a second ago.
I did.
Right? And so when I was, trying to get my life together, figure out who I was. And again, I'm still learning who I am. So this is not, I'm on top of a mountain sharing lessons, but this is powerful. And it's still a great reminder for me today. I realized that helping other people, for example, like in this whole getting clean from drugs and alcohol recovery world, it was like you were ultimately trying to stay clean so you help somebody else. And the whole time you think you're helping them. And when they relapse or they fail, you're like, you're sitting there, you're clean, you're going, I'm a failure. I failed this person. Like they came to me, they wanted mentorship. They wanted coaching. This is also a lesson for all you coaches out here who think that you're responsible for your clients' results. The key word that I said a second ago was I was sitting there clean, thinking that I was a failure. Ultimately, I had succeeded because I was clean. Whether the other person failed or not or whatever, relapsed, they make their own choices. Ultimately, everything that I do, especially in the personal development world, in terms of me growing, anytime I have an opportunity to help somebody else, anytime I have an opportunity to do something for somebody else, I ultimately am the biggest beneficiary. If I'm able to see and notice and be aware of the blessings and the growth, which makes every situation worth it for me to participate in, for me to give honest effort, for me to try, because not only am I going to benefit by staying just alive and in the game, being active, helping people, so many benefits, right? But obviously, if I'm running a business, I also, those are I have an opportunity through action to improve, to grow, to experience a transaction, because I'm in the game. Half the battle of business is showing up. And I think you're right. If we don't know who we are, it's hard for us to show up. We're emotionally volatile. We feel we feel desperate. So we take things or accept things that aren't really truly what we want. So
Mhm.
we end up just, sort of satisfying our what we want or feel that we need in that moment. But ultimately, when that wears off, we're still left with, I'm in a situation that I don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And so it's through those situations though is how we learned who we are. That is how we learn who we are, by showing up and seeing what we're made of. And business will certainly challenge you, as you've now experienced, Mitzi. It'll challenge you, and you're taking on both personal development, bouncing back kind of in a personal way, a
Right.
personal bounce back, as well
Mhm.
as launching a business. So
Mhm.
you're doing multiple hard things at once. And I think a lot of us are. And I think we're hard on ourselves, and it's hard to find that balance between holding myself accountable and not being so hard on myself that I'm like, you're a failure, you might as well quit.
Right.
And obviously, you've brought in some mentorship, and you've kind of used the resources here in this community that we've kind of built and created for people to use. You've used them in a way that I would say is what they're there for, and how they're
Yeah.
supposed. And now it seems as if you have a layer of a great foundation that you're ready to launch, and you're now able to focus on others because you know more who you are. You're not at a rock bottom, a crisis. I don't know kind of what I'm doing, total panic mode.
Mhm.
So what is your advice to people having come through this? You started in, I believe, 2023,
Mhm.
September of 2023. So we're now coming up on 2 years that you've been in this, on this, doing this, have launched, started your education, and have been active with your business. What is your advice to other people who are going through similar situations and having all the emotions that come with what you've gone through the past 2 years?
Mhm. You touched on something a minute ago. You said you're not sitting on the top of the mountain, and it's interesting because the mountain will move. I think, you know, because just when you learn one thing about yourself, then obviously there's going to be something else. So it's not something that I think it's a lifelong work when it comes to figuring out who we are because we evolve over time. I'm definitely not the person I was when I was in my early 20s. And I'm not the person that I'm going to be in 10 years. But do I have to compare myself to what my expectation is? So first thing, managing expectations. Whether that is expectations of yourself and where you are in your personal journey of growth and development, and whatever it is that you're struggling with, whether it's like you mentioned, addiction. I have a son who happens to have been in that world for the past few years, and it's a force to be reckoned with. But you know what, so is somebody that is in a situation that is a challenging situation, whether you're dealing with other people or whether it's a family situation. You have to manage your expectations, and that doesn't just include the expectations that you have of how others around you are going to respond to you. It's the expectation that you have on yourself of, I should be further along. I should be more confident. I should be making more money. I should be this and that. So first of all, managing your expectations. Second of all, realizing that where you are right now is not a bad place to be. It may not be the place that you envision yourself or strive for, but it's okay to be here right now and be in the moment wherever you are. And that sounds a little cliche, be wherever you are, but you have to accept where you are right now, and not just say, okay, well, when this happens, then I will be happy, confident, whatever. You have to be able to be okay, you know, throughout the journey. The next thing that I would encourage people is, I don't want to say don't be afraid to show your face, but I'm giving myself that advice. At first, when I started, I was so scared to put my name out there. I was scared to be on camera. I was scared of all these things. And now what other people think is none of my business. I just need to worry about me. So that's where that comes in a big way. But, you know, life and business are both processes. You have to, you know, you can go along for a while and everything's good. And then, like, imagine when all of this AI came in, which I have to say, this AI challenge is amazing. It is lit a fire under me. Like, I can't believe it. It's wonderful. So do it. So there's that. But, you know, anybody that suffers with self-doubt, or if you're used to people pleasing and all of that, you know, you can grow and you can say, okay, you know what, that I don't want that to be my reality anymore. And it doesn't mean that you were wrong. It doesn't mean that there was something wrong with you. It just means, you know, you've discovered, like they say, you know, when you know better, you do better. But it's actually really true. So, and life's a journey. There's not any perfect place that, you know, everybody's going to get to this one place and then they can say they've had success. It just doesn't work that way. You just don't, you know, stop comparing yourself to other people. You're going to see people, and I did this. I got shiny object syndrome and was all over the place. You know, I couldn't, I have piles of notebooks, the notes that I've taken. I mean, I swear I have 2 like 18-inch piles of stuff, and I just put it away. And I said, this is where I am today, and this is what I'm doing. So don't compare yourself to other people. Their journey is not yours. You will find where you belong, and where you will know it when you hit it, because, you know, your heart, your soul will tell you.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, thank you for coming on and sharing and you know, giving us your experience and being so honest and vulnerable. I know you have, you know, so many wonderful things that in credit that you've given us, and I appreciate it. And we're really, and I know I speak on behalf of our team, grateful to attract people like you into our community. Everybody on the show, you know, has enjoyed listening to you share, relate, and this is something that when you do it, most people have a rough go at it for the first few years of trying to kind of, I mean, it's more, it's harder than a marriage, I would say, because, you know, you I mean, at least in a marriage you can blame the other person. I mean, you know, that you know what I mean?
You can.
You can, yeah, you can. You shouldn't, but you can, and most people do. Most people do.
Been there.
And so, you know, you gotta understand what you're up against, and in some of the stats and some of the, and you gotta be aware of those.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, like, I was aware of those stats when I was in like drug treatment back in 2004, when I had received a blessing from a judge who sent me to drug treatment. And they said, hey man, here's the stats of people getting out of here. And I was like, man, those aren't good.
Yeah.
That's depressing. But at the same time, I started to realize when I looked around why those stats were like they were. People weren't plugged in. Dudes weren't trying.
No.
Guys weren't even trying. They were messing around. They couldn't wait to get out of there. They were lying. They were cheating. They were still doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
You can take a horse. You can. What is the saying?
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, but another one about a horse. You can you can get a drunken horse thief sober and he's still a horse thief. You got to change, man.
Good point.
You got to change. That's why, like, jumping from one relationship to the next, everywhere you go, there you are. Oh shit, 6 months, a year later, you're in the same situation you were. Why? Because they weren't the problem. You brought your own set of problems. And so a business is the same thing. A business, until you solve that problem that you're having, it doesn't matter how many different shiny new businesses you start, you're going to still have that problem. Similar with a relationship. Until you solve your accountability issue or your whatever your issue is that you drag from one thing to the next, until you solve that, you're not going to be successful at that thing. Likely. That's usually how life works.
Right.
And so, you know, again, going back to, this is hard. The ramp up time for a lot of people in a business is a few years.
Yeah.
And that's because people who are successful aren't successful by accident. They're successful because they've done some sort of personal growth work in order to prepare themselves to handle the stress of success, to handle the pressure of running a business. And really what a lot of that means is you just need to be sober-minded. You need a good night's sleep. You need to have decent coping mechanisms, and you need to be able to hold yourself accountable. And you need to be able to be a self-starter. You need to be able to work on your own without somebody standing over you.
Yeah.
Like those are like the 3 to 5 things that are required. And if you can figure that out, which those things are I found those things to be pretty easy once I got once I got sober and I got my emotions under control and I wasn't all over the place.
Yeah.
I wasn't so emotionally reactive and volatile to everything that happened in life, because your business is going to throw things that are going to trigger you and make you react. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel stressed. You're going to feel betrayed. You're going to feel people are going to say stuff. You're going to feel all the things. It's going to trigger all your old wounds. And so you're going to have some sort of healthy coping mechanism and the ability to not, when something happens in your business, get so dysregulated and not be able to come back for days or weeks or quit altogether. That's the game. That's how people win in business. And it sucks because we didn't get that emotional conditioning training. But I think that's definitely the reason why I launched the Confidence Challenge, because the Confidence Challenge is less about gaining confidence. It's more about learning healthy coping mechanisms and learning how to reframe and see things in a more empowering light. And therefore, when you do a few basic things behind the scenes, you just automatically get more confidence because you feel more sure, you feel more clear, you feel more just aligned. Anyways, this is good stuff.
It's really important. You think about, you just really, you have to get really comfortable looking in the mirror. How uncomfortable is that? I mean, I find it really uncomfortable. You look in the mirror and you look away and, it's like, no, you have to look in the mirror and address what is right in front of you. And that's you. And you have the ability to make the choices. And when you don't, that's on you. Yes, there are circumstances. Yes, there are outside influences and factors and things, but it ultimately comes back down to you.
Yeah.
Who is that person and what are they going to do to get to where they want to be?
Yeah, like, in the way that whether it's you or not is like, take everything and everybody like away in your life. Are you still left with, confusion, stress, overwhelm? It's oftentimes not other people who are the issue. It's,
Mhm.
everywhere we go, there we are. So yeah, you're right. A relationship is a lot like a mirror. A business is a lot like a mirror. But the
Mhm.
thing is that a business, again, there's nobody there to blame things on.
Right.
It's you, and ultimately you taking responsibility. And I think that's where also learning who you are also means becoming okay with who you are, becoming comfortable in your
Absolutely.
skin,
Yes.
becoming comfortable with the time that it takes you to on your journey. You don't
Mhm.
learning who you are and being okay in your own skin means that you're okay if others are going faster on the road than you are.
Mhm.
That's not of concern to you. That's
Mhm.
not, that doesn't trigger you or dysregulate you or
Right.
throw you off your ish if
Mhm.
you see other people speeding down the highway.
Mhm.
Because when somebody's speeding down the highway, man, they might get in an accident or they might get a ticket. That's also often true in business. When somebody's
Yeah.
going so fast, hey,
Mhm.
quick up, quick down. That may not be the car you want to be in. So,
Absolutely.
owning the car that you're in, going at your speed is also a sign of somebody who is comfortable in their own skin. It is
Mhm.
a sign of somebody who has developed some healthy self-esteem.
Mhm.
They know who they are. They
Mhm.
know what speed they're going and that they don't need to go fast like this person or slower. I don't need to slow down because I need to dim my light because I'm hanging around people who are threatened. No, I'm
Mhm.
going at my speed. If I'm going faster than you and you're threatened by that, well, don't watch, or maybe we shouldn't be friends. And if you're going faster than me, well, you're in a rush. Go, boy,
Mhm.
go, girl. Be safe. Hope you got your
Mhm.
seatbelt on, but I'm
Yeah.
cruising.
Right. And some sense, you have to kind of put blinders on, and just because, well, coming from the music world, okay, musicians are a different breed altogether. I mean, they're talk about emotion and drama, and especially the niche that I'm in, opera. I mean, it's all about drama. And you just there's auditions, and then you didn't get the part, or you did get the part, and you feel bad for somebody else, or you're always making excuses for why it didn't happen. Well, you know what, maybe it just wasn't for you. Maybe that's just not, you weren't the best person for the job, what they were looking for. That doesn't lessen your value. That doesn't lessen the contribution that you can make, maybe in a different area. But yeah, that factor of seeing all these other people doing these different things, it's about you, it's about your choices, it's about your willingness to accept the results of your choices, and holding yourself accountable. And sometimes it's not a bad thing if you need help doing that, to learn how to that all goes and how it factors in, whether that means mentorship or therapy. I mean, been there. It's
Yeah, for
valuable,
sure. Oh my God. Yeah.
um
And
and it's an ongoing process. You can, I think I graduated once from therapy, and then a few years later I went back, and it was valuable in a different way. It's nothing to be, you know, ashamed of. It's actually so helpful and so valuable. And, you know, just get comfortable with who you are, because once you figure that out, so many of all of the things that you question yourself and all of that, that can just, you can just, it comes up. It's not going to just go away forever. It comes up, but you can go, oh, yeah, all right. I'm over that or whatever. But like you said, you put these coping skills in place. And that used to be a huge trigger for my son, that term coping skills. He was, we had to call it anything else, but he's working through that in his own way. And it's a process. And
that's funny. That's
yeah,
funny. Yeah, no,
He's
I know.
30. He just turned 30 this last year. So it's like, well, he'll say something to me and he'll go, yeah, Mom, this is what I'm working on. And, I think he's doing some cognitive behavior therapy or something right now. And he was like, I always, before when I was in this situation, I would always like shy away from that. I wasn't going to do that. I was like, well, here, why don't you think about any of the other things that you also pushed away in your journey? And maybe you could focus on those too. Because if you're shying away from it and you're saying, oh yeah, I don't need to do that, maybe that's what you really need to be doing. So he's like, yeah, that's a good point, Mom.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's good. That's good momming. Good for you. That's
thank
good,
you.
honest, non-codependent, non-enmeshed, just good mothering, good, honest, good feedback, good, honest
Been a
feedback.
process for sure. It's
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to give
not come
feedback like that.
easily.
Yeah, learning how to communicate and just say what you want and say what you need or say what you mean. One of the best pieces of advice, and we'll bring this in for a landing here, that I got in terms of talking to people inside of your business was say what you mean what you say, but don't be mean when you say it.
Absolutely.
And that really, I took that little cliche with me in most of my business dealings. I've, of course, try to do that in my personal life as well. But yeah, that is important as you start a business. Many times we come into business. I had somebody, one, I want to hit on this and one other thing, our desperation, which can turn into greed. So this whole, there's obviously a lot of black holes in landmines or places where we could get kind of like held up. I want to just touch on this and then I'll bring it in for a landing just for time's sake. Another thing that's a concern for us is that if we come into this business or to start this new side hustle or career or whatever you're calling it, and you get so desperate. I've had a person that messaged me yesterday. They said, "Are you connected, or did this person used to work with you? They said they know you and they work with you, and they said that if I send them $250, I can expect to get that, multiplied into $2,500." I want to ignore that message so bad, right? Like, that's the kind of DM that just I want to ignore. But I took the time to at least say no. And then they come back and they say, "Are you sure you don't know them?" Like, the greed was so strong.
Yeah.
That this person was wishing that and hoping that I knew this person. And I just thought, and that this was legit, right? And I just thought, what a sad thing that your greed has blinded you so much that you I actually got pissed and said, "Yes, you idiot," to this person. I'm just being real. This is real. This is real shit. I'm going to show everybody exactly what the hell happened. What this person, this person. Someone said, "I work with Legendary Marketing. My CEO is Dave Sharpe, the founder of Legendary Marketing, and she is asking me to give her $200. Is that right? Her name is whatever on WhatsApp. Her TikTok is this. Is this a scam or legit? She is telling me to invest $200 and I will earn $2,100 in the next 3 days." I said, "Absolutely not."
Wow.
And is this scam? Like, why do I need to, so I got to come, this is what we deal with on the internet. Absolutely not. Is this scam? Yes, you idiot. Now he's coming back a third time. The greed, he is intoxicated by the opportunity, by the possibility that whoever this idiot scammer is can turn, I don't even know if it's a him or her, whatever, their $200 into $2,100 in the next 3 days. They are so intoxicated, they can't even see straight.
Wow.
Didn't you know her? Like, if you can relate to this at all, and I know a lot of you can, because I know a lot of you have told me that you've been scammed by people. And I'm going to tell you something that this is an example of where accountability must come into play. If you have sent somebody money who is promising you something that was too good to be true, they are not the scammer. You were greedy. You secretly were hoping that that would be true. And that's what's wrong with this industry. That's what's wrong with this industry. It's not just the people who are scamming that are obviously like, oh yeah, you know, I can turn your $200 to $2,100 in the next 3 days. Just send it to me. Like, how stupid. It's not that person that's the problem. This is my point. It is if that is bait to you, if you give that a second thought and you buy into any of the shit out here on the internet that's like this, or that has any sort of like, I'm going to pay for this and I'm hoping for a magical solution.
Yeah.
You are the problem.
Yeah.
You are the problem. Not only are you the problem in this industry, but you're also the problem in your own life. And I love everyone, and especially those loyal listeners here on Wake Up Legendary. But the fact is that, yeah, this stuff's entertaining. We can look at this, but it also shows us like this person is the problem. Whatever. They're the problem, not the person that's promising them this money. This person who's promising them this flip, this I'll turn your 2,100. It's probably some desperate person sitting in a hut somewhere, or I don't know. Maybe it's a call center in some country that they just are running the scam. But again, there's an old saying that says something to the effect of idiots will be parted with their money. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Anyways, I'm ranting. Mitzi, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your wonderful story. And thank you for being a part of our community. You're a gem, and we love having you here. And we look forward to you keeping us posted and coming back and continuing to teach us about your journey and what you've learned along the way. All right?
Thank you. Wonderful. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Dave.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Stay legendary, my friend.
You too.
Bye. All right, my friends. You can find and follow Mitzi over on Instagram at The Boldly Brewed, spelled how it sounds, The Boldly Brewed. All right, my friends. What a great episode. And a lot of different things came up. Woo! We got hot. All right, my friends, not hot. I'm not hot. I'm not feeling any feelings about anything except just passion and making sure that we are the solution that we want to see out here in these internet streets, if you know what I mean. And that we are not kind of perpetrating these sort of behaviors. Holy smokes, right? Grow up out on the internet. But anyways, look out. But most of all, look in the mirror. As Mitzi reminded us, because, that's the most important person that you're on this journey with. It's not all of these other people out here. They're a distraction. You're in total control of your life and your environment. And if you're not, get in control or realize that you are in control and take the bull by the horns. Stop wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter and get plugged in. I think that Mitzi's story is a wonderful example of what you can accomplish, not only from a business standpoint, but from a personal growth standpoint. And that's the work that you're going to need to do, no matter what business you're going to start. They're all going to require a solid business owner, CEO. No business is going to run with a somebody who can't manage their own life. You know what I mean? So you got to get your life manageable. You have to get your confidence, your emotional ability to be able to handle little stressful situations, let alone bigger ones. The beautiful thing about all the business models and marketing strategies that we're teaching you here in Legendary is none of them are going to put you into massive financial bankruptcy by going and starting franchise fees, taking out huge bank loans to buy equipment. We're not doing any of these Amazon crap where you buy all this inventory or somebody else runs the business for you and you're just buying in. It's none of that crap. It's the oldest and now probably the most booming business model on the internet. It's the same exact business model that Jeff Bezos started Amazon with. What was the initial product on Amazon? It was books, and it was digital books. It's now all facilitated through Kindle for the most part. But that was the original product. It's information, whether you're publishing free information and getting paid for it on YouTube or sites like it, or whether you're publishing free information and getting paid for it and creating courses or an affiliate for courses or other education, that's where it's at. That's what we're doing. That's what we're teaching here. And surely all of this stuff applies to your brick and mortar businesses, your physical product businesses, but I think you'll be blown away at what you can do and accomplish, especially as you go through our AI Online Business Builder Challenge with artificial intelligence, blending them with these business models that we're teaching you in these skills. So jump into it, AIBusinessBuilderChallenge.com. Thank you again, Mitzi. We'll see everybody in Nashville on September 5th, 6th, and 7th. You can, of course, get your ticket at legendarymarketermastermind.com/Nashville. It is only Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode, my friends. Get out of here. Have a great day. Peace.